Hi fam, how are you doing? I hope that you guys are doing well. I am doing great. If you're new here, please do join us by clicking that red subscribe button on the bottom. That is if you enjoy the content that I serve in this channel, and also don't forget to smash that like button because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. And also don't forget to engage on the comment section. Let me know your thoughts regarding the content that we are going to be talking about today. On today's video, I'm going to be talking about how do you start with cash envelope system for beginners. So this is 101 again. I'm doing another crash course. And so I'm just going to be taking you guys through how do you go about this, understanding what this is, and then how do you then go about it. So it's also going to be more so practical, just like I did with the emergency fund, but this one is the same thing as this one. Is also going to be more so on the practical side. First thing that you need to know before you get into this system is understanding what is a cash envelope system. So basically a cash envelope system is a budgeting method that allows you to track your spending on specific categories that you have set up in that particular month. So for instance, you find that you have your budget, but then now the cash envelope system is another form of budgeting in addition to your base in addition to your normal budget, but this one is more so on a practical side. Now you are tracking your spending in each and every category that you have allocated, because now you have put money in all of those things. So that's basically what a cash envelope system is. It's a budgeting system that allows you to track your spending in those categories that you have deemed that you want to use cash on. Which then brings me to the next point: why cash over digital money? For me, I feel like when you decide to adopt this budgeting system of using cash, is that you need to make sure that it is a personal decision. As much as there are so many videos out here, and I also create this when it comes to just sharing my journey with you with the system, as you still need to make sure that you personalize it, that it's personal to you. So for me, when I was looking at it, I had to identify why cash over the debit card, why cash over digital money. So the first thing for me was I needed an easy way to track my spending. There are many ways that we can track our spending with using our debit cards, using our banking systems that we currently have. FNB has this, ABSA has this, Capitec has this. All banks, they have this, whereby you are able to track your spending from your banking app. But for me, it was just not working. For me, it was just too much. It was also just daunting, and so I needed a simple, when I say simple, I needed the most simplest way that I can go about tracking my spending. Another thing for me, I needed to understand my spending habits. As much as I do my budgets, and I'm very good at doing my budget, there are certain things in my finances that were problems, and I wanted to focus on those problem areas in terms of understanding how am I spending my money in these things, and if there's a way that I can improve, then find a way to improve. But what I've found ever since I started using a cash budgeting system or a cash envelope system is that on those problem areas, on the things that used to be problem areas before, they're no longer problem areas, because now I'm able to control my spending. And so that brings me to the last point when it comes to just being able to control your spending. There are many ways that you can go about doing this, but I feel like for me, a cash envelope system kind of made it real for me in terms of just understanding where am I spending on, but then also controlling my spending, because I only get to spend what is in the envelope. Now before, as much as I would have my money in my debit card and I would go to the shops maybe to go and buy groceries, I would find that it was not easy for me to spend only what I had set for myself, because the money was easily accessible. And so that is why for me I had to go the cash budgeting system, because I understood the cash envelope system, because I understood what it would do for me. And then the last thing also is the possibility of saving. Now I know already per month that most of us, we are already trying to save. I also do save, whereby in my budget I have savings goals. However, in the things that I'm allocating money on my expenses, on my categories of my expenses, as I'm putting money in it, I love that with the cash budgeting system, I do have a chance of actually saving per month. Like for instance, last month I was able to save 300 rands from the allocation that I had made for bus, because I didn't use the bus, and so that meant that I started a new month with 300 rands. And so that is what I love, that in these expenses, instead of using all of the money, if there is no need, you find yourself starting a new month with some money, which then allows you to allocate this money in other things for that particular month. So that is what I love about the cash budgeting system. And before, it was very hard for me to do this with the debit card. It was just hard. Even till today, I can tell you this. Even when, let's say, for instance, I decide to not withdraw some money, like for instance, I decided to not withdraw week 2, week 3 and week 4 money from my debit card and just kept it there, mainly because I just didn't have time to go to the bank and withdraw money. And so I just kept it there, and so I kept swiping and swiping. I realized that when week 3 came, the money was no longer the way that it was supposed to be, because just tracking the money is not easy. And also for me, there's just something about digital money and feeling like I'm just bowling and then feeling like I have money. And so when there's something that I need in the shops, I would easily access that. Like one of the things that I've realized that it helps, the cash helps me especially in, is that because most of the time I do not carry it around with me. I do not have a need. I do not, as much as I may want to go to the shops, I really have to know why I have to go to the shops for me to go to the shops. Because let's say for instance, I'm coming from work and I want to pass by the shops, but I do not have the money because it's at home. Which means that now I have to go home. Once I'm in my house, I am not leaving in the afternoon again to go to the shops, because if it's not urgent, I'm not going to do it. But if I want to go to the shops and I have money in my cards, I can easily do that from work, pass by the shops and tap that card and go. But when there's no cash around, when I do not have the physical cash, I like it because then it means that I do not have, it becomes hard for me to spend it. It becomes hard to spend cash because you do not carry it around. However, if you're going to take this system and then always carry cash around with you, always carry this cash around with you, there's a likelihood that you are going to spend it. There is a high likelihood that you're going to spend it. You know, my partner was also sharing that even though he doesn't use a system, but he does carry around cash with him. But he noticed that cash is not something that he normally uses. You will find that he will have cash and it will just be sitting around. But when it's card, it's easier to use. And obviously the banks have also made it easier for us to use cards because of the less transaction fees that we get now with cards. When you go to the bank, when you go to the shops, when you tap there, it's easier, it's cheaper. And also with the apps that we use now for buying food, it becomes easier. And obviously these things are there to make our lives easier. And I'm not gonna say that I do not partake in this, I do not benefit from this, because I know they make my life easy. And so digital money is there to make it easy for you to spend. That is the whole point of it. And so when you go cash, it's basically saying I want to make it hard. I just want to put that extra step for it to be hard for me to spend money. Now let's get into what do you need to get started with the cash envelope system. I feel like you need to keep this basic when you're starting. Do not commit to anything yet. Just make sure that you keep it basic so that you can see if this is for you. Unless you are really sure and really determined on the system, like you really understand it and you also understand that this is something that you need. For me also, that's what I did. But I remember the first time I started, I didn't have a binder. First time I started this, I started it 3 years ago, and I used paper envelopes, and after that I really didn't continue with it. And I'm glad that I didn't invest on the cash binders, because I did not even stick to it. And so what do you need to get started? First thing is you need your budget. So you need to have a monthly budget in order for you to be able to do the cash envelope system. And you can't just say you're gonna go straight to your cash envelope system. Your budget will allow you to understand that this is how much you have allocated in these categories. So the first thing you need is your budget. Then the second thing that you need is envelopes. Basic envelopes, you guys. When I started the system 3 years ago, I actually used paper envelopes. I took paper from the office, I folded it, I clipped it on the side, and then I made a closure for it, and then I made different ones, and I just wrote with a marker that, okay, this one is for transport, this one is for food, and all the stuff. That is how I started. That is how I actually tested out the system. And obviously I didn't stick with it at that time because I don't think I fully understood it, and also I don't think that I understood why I need it, which is why I think it's very important that you understand that you take the first things that we have spoken about first before you go into this system, before you even start adopting it. And so those are the things that you need. You don't need to complicate it. And then if you do decide that you do need the cash binders, these are the places that you can find it from. You can find it at Shein, you can find it at Take a Lot, and then you can find it from there's this other lady who has a YouTube channel, but she also sells them. I know her through my colleague, and she has this beautiful website and she sells these beautiful journals as well as cash binders. She doesn't know me, you guys, so it's not like I said I'm gonna shout. She doesn't know me. I also do not know her. I just know her through my colleague. So her name is Norma, but she goes by Norma's Diary. Her name is Norma. So I'm going to leave her website here, and you can go check out. You can buy your binders from her as well. That's a local way that you can go about it. And also just wanted to ask you guys, now that I have my website and it's up and it's live, do let me know if you would love for me to sell these, like to order them in bulk and then to sell them to you guys, to just have them available on the website for you guys to order anytime. Please let me know, because I have ran a shop before in terms of selling things, and I do not like when you buy things, when you order things and then you have to sit with stock. It's just not a nice thing. So I want to make sure that when I introduce something, I know that this is something that you guys would actually appreciate. And so please let me know in the comment section if there's something that you would love for me to do. Now let us go to the practical side of this video. How do you then go about doing the cash envelope system? So I'm going to take you to my table where we are going to go over this thing, whereby we're going to show you how I go about doing mine, and then it's going to give you an idea of how you should do yours as well. Now we're going to choose categories that you are going to allocate towards your envelope system. Normally, because there are things that do deduct from our bank accounts, like directly from the bank, not everything will need cash. Also, what I would encourage you to do here is make sure that you are mindful of your lifestyle. So let's say, for instance, you're a person that likes online shopping. If you're a person that likes online shopping, especially for food, just make sure that you do not withdraw cash for food if you know very well that you do your online shopping. But then there are other things that you will know that you will need cash for. So what I normally do whenever I'm working towards my cash stuffing is I work on my budget. So this is my budget binder right here. I have it open on my budget for August. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at the things that I need cash for here, that I want to track in terms of my spending per month, and then those are the things that I'm going to be withdrawing money on. So firstly, we need to identify which categories as per my budget am I going to be taking money from. And this is why it's important to have a budget. I don't think that you can be good with cash stuffing if you're not good with budgeting. You need to be good with budgeting, so that, because what the cash envelope system does is it enforces what you have set up here. So this is very important. So let's now identify the categories for the envelopes that you're going to be stuffing. So for me, the first thing that I have is my weekly allocation. So my weekly allocation normally is for food. So basically this is food. And so I would have week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. So that would be my weekly allocation. And my budget is also broken down like this in terms of week 1. So if you look here, when you look at week 1 here, let me just bring it closer. When you look at week 1 here, it shows that, okay, from this day till this day in August, this is how much money I'm planning to spend. So it says here 1,700, and then week 2 it has 800, week 3 it is 1,800, in week 4 it is 1,000. And so this is how I break down my food, my money for food. I don't just say food, but I break it down per weeks in terms of how much do I think I will need in that week for food. So now that is done, let us get to category 2. Category 2, what I need now in terms of my expenses, I need money for petrol. Another one is Uber. Another one is school. And then the last one is me, because I now put myself in my budget so that I make sure that I'm prioritizing myself. Otherwise, if it's not budgeted for, it is not going to happen. So these are my categories for my cash envelope system. And as I said, I do not need money. I do not need cash for everything. Like, I do not need to withdraw money that I pay towards my life cover, money that I pay towards my water and electricity rates and levies, because that's money that when I pay for those things, I pay from my account. It will be an inconvenience to myself to go and withdraw money for rates and levies, water and electricity, and then have to go again to the bank to make these payments. It wouldn't make sense. And so that is why, for me, I still use two systems, whereby I use my debit card. I also still use my cash binder, because I understand that there are things that I'm going to need my debit card for, and then there are things that I'm going to need cash for. And these are the categories that I've identified as the things that I would love to track my spending on, as well as possibly save on. And then what I then do is I then say, okay, how much in total do I need for weekly allocation? So for weekly allocation, it's 5,300. For petrol, it is 1,500. For Uber, it is 300. For school, it is normally 200, even though my budget it's more, but the other one we pay directly to the school using EFT, and so I do not need to withdraw money for that. And also, it's also that thing of identifying things that you see that this would be an inconvenience for you if you had cash for. This one, it wouldn't be an inconvenience for you to have cash for. Like buying food cash is not an inconvenience for me. Pouring petrol cash is not an inconvenience for me, because I'm still physically there at the petrol station filling up the car. Uber, I'm still physically there. This school money, it's money that just in case there are activities whereby maybe they're wearing home clothes, those normally we do need cash for. And so I like to keep cash for that. And then for me as well, if I want to do my own things, I want to keep cash for that. So normally for me, I use cash for that. And so I was trying to make a point of to say that for school, there's a certain portion for it for aftercare. It is paid. There is a finance office in the school, but then it doesn't make sense for me to, or every time when I need to have to pay that money for aftercare, to go to the finance section to make the payment, when there is an EFT method that is much easier and simpler, and I do not have to worry about physically going there to the offices to make those payments at those specific times. That's why I'm saying you need to make sure that whatever that you're choosing as your categories, it's not something that will inconvenience you in any way, especially like bad inconvenience that is just unnecessary. But what you want to do here is you want to make sure that whatever that you put here, it's things that, as much as you want, you're not going to be inconvenienced, but at the same time, you want to make it hard for you to spend that money. And so that is why you are putting it on the cash envelopes. That is my thinking when I go about this. And so then what I then do is I total it up to try and get the total for how much I am going to need to withdraw at the bank. 5,300 plus 1,500 plus 300 plus 200 plus 500. So that is 7,800. Now my recommendation here is, if you find yourself in this situation, if now that you understand how much money you are going to need to staff, then what you do is you go and withdraw some. Maybe you can withdraw some of the money at the till, or you can just withdraw at the ATM. At the till, obviously, is cheaper. At the ATM, it's more in terms of charges. And so you can withdraw some of the money at the till, some of the money you can withdraw at the ATM, or you can split your withdrawal in days if, let's say, it's a lot of money like this. For me, it's never a lot of money like this. Sometimes it's around 5,000 something, because I don't normally withdraw third week and fourth week at the same time because of when I get the money. So YouTube pays me on the 23rd, my partner gives me money on the 25th, and so once I have all of that money together, and also my sister gives me money for stock fill at the end of the month. So once I have all of the money, what I then do is whatever that I need for third week and fourth week, I then total it up and go and withdraw that, say, halfway through, like at the end of the month. So the first withdrawal is normally mid-month and the other one is after month end. But if, let's say, for instance, all your money comes in one time, I would say that split your withdrawals. Maybe, let's say, in at the till, you say this other till you're going to withdraw this much, this other till you're going to withdraw that much, or you just go to the ATM and withdraw however that you need to withdraw. And then also, another thing is, for me, I avoid making multiple withdrawals. So 2 withdrawals for me in a month is fine. But I do not want to go and withdraw petrol money alone, go withdraw Uber money alone. I like to total it together and then withdraw once, so that I know that I'm charged one fee for that particular withdrawal, and then the second time I withdraw, it's one fee. That just helps me to minimize unnecessary charges as well. But as I said, you can withdraw at the till. It's one of the best places that you can withdraw that you won't get charged a lot. Once you have this like this, then what you will do is, once you have your cash and you have withdrawn it, then you then now have to stuff it on your cash binder. Now, if you're starting out and you just have envelopes, you have those envelopes where you have each category, and so each category, then you will say, for instance, it would be week 1, or it would be food, and then you will put money for food, for petrol, you have the envelope. So let me give you an example. So here on my cash envelope, as you can see, I've got a binder for petrol. So it's finished. We are close to me getting paid, so the money is finished there. And then we also have week 2. Week 2 is part of the week 1, week 2, week 3. Week 1 is no longer in here. And then I've got allocation for Uber. And what I did was, here I put money for Uber. So let me just show you. So for Uber, I had allocated 300 rands, and we still have 300 rands till this day that we allocated in July. Mind you, we are in August. I'm gonna get paid next week, but we still have money under Uber. This is what I love about the cash budgeting system. So then I put this here. It's still here because I haven't used it. And then for school, there's also an envelope for school. We have used all money for school so far. And then for my fund, this is me under my budget, so it's my fund. I have an envelope for that, and I still have money in here. And let me see how much money I have. We've got 200 rands that I still have, given the fact that I'm getting paid next week, Tuesday. So by the time you guys are watching this, obviously I've gotten paid for August. But as I'm filming this, we are on the 11th of August, which means that we are doing well because we still have money in our cash envelopes that we haven't spent. Like, I haven't spent all of the money for me. So so this is what you will do. This is how you allocate it. But then another way that you can do it is just having normal envelopes and just putting the titles on the envelopes that, okay, it's going to be for this, it's going to be for this, it's going to be for petrol, it's going to be for Uber, for school. That is the most simplest way you can go about starting with this. But if you want these systems, you can get this. I got this binder at Shein. It is beautiful, it is very sturdy, and I feel like it's good quality, and it was not even that pricey. But as I said, there are other places where you can buy this. Shein, Take a Lot, as well as Noma's Diary. You can also get these as well. And so this is how I go about doing my cash budgeting system, and I love it because it just allows me to track my spending on these things. But the most important thing that I love, that I highlighted, well, the most thing that I love for me that I talked about, is increasing my possibility of saving per month. Right now we haven't spent Uber, so that's a possible saving that we might have by the time I get paid. So that will be like 300 rands that I haven't spent. That's a saving. Money for my budget, I allocated 500 rands, and currently we're left with 200 rands. That's a saving that I'm currently having. So if by the time I get paid on the 15th, we haven't spent this money, then this is money that I can allocate again. I can reallocate again here. That is why for me, I love a cash budgeting system, because it really allows me to track my spending, control my spending, but more than anything, have the possibility to save on these things and actually see practically that, oh wow, I saved under the category or under my category, or I saved under the category of petrol, or I saved under the category of Uber. But when all of the money is clumped together in a debit card, in a debit account, in an account, it's very hard to see that you saved way, unless you are really meticulous in terms of tracking each and every money that goes out in your account. For me, I am not that meticulous, and I do not like that labor, and so I do not do it. So I like that once I've put in money for these categories, it's easier for me to track. I do not have to worry about it, because I know that, okay, if I put 1,500 rands on petrol, on the envelope for petrol, but then when I check it, that means we are left with 500 rands. That means that so far I've spent 1,000. That I know very well that I spent 1,000 on petrol. I didn't take money for petrol and spend on Uber, or spend on school, or spend on food, because there is an envelope for each and everything. That is why I love this. It makes the tracking process for me easier without having to be meticulous in terms of checking each and every transaction. Now that we're done with the calculations, we're gonna head on over and close off this video. Now that we have went through the practical side of how do you go about starting the cash envelope system, I just want to close it off by discussing these few things. A cash envelope system, you can do it two ways. You can do it a way whereby you withdraw all your cash and then you allocate it, which is not advisable right now, because there are certain things that are debit ordered, or some things that you have to pay for using a card. Or you can then split it. For me, I split it. So I keep some of my money in my debit card, and then I keep some of my money in my cash envelopes in the form of cash. And this allows me to utilize two systems at the same time, whereby I have my digital money, where I also have my cash binder. So I would say that if you're a person that you know that you do a lot of online shopping, you would rather say you keep your money for food in the debit card for you to be able to buy your groceries through online system. But then for other things that you feel like you do not need the money to be in the card for, then you withdraw it and keep it as a cash envelope. So you do have what I love about the system is that it's not stringent in terms of this is one way and this is one way only that you have to use it. You actually get to adopt it to your lifestyle. You sit down and you look at your lifestyle and say, okay, for me, I would need cash on 1, 2, and 3. But then there are these things that I know that I need digital money for. You make sure that you keep digital money for that. But then for things that you feel like, okay, I do not need digital money for, and it will be beneficial for me to use the system, then you go with the system. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and you found it useful, and that it's going to assist you in your financial journey as you work towards your finances. And that also is going to help you to get started if you haven't gotten started, and that if you have started, you understand how to go about it. With that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Please take care and stay safe. Bye.